Yeah, well, I want to give you the straight scoop on some of the deal that's coming up here because without getting into too much drama, I could actually put out some more drama angles on Rothschilds and things like that. I'm not going to, but I'm going to give you real straight shooting stuff, if you want to put it that way. You know, Russia's got about 40,000 troops estimated on the Eastern Front with Ukraine, right? And basically, you know, I'm not going to play any kind of propaganda anyway, or one way or the other, USA or whatever, or Russia or Ukraine angle. I'll just give you the facts. They're not playing around with exercises. It's not really for an exercise. It's way above an exercise. Also, there's a lot more mechanized units in it that are not for exercise. It's not an exercise. It's bullshit. It's actually prepping for an invasion. But will there be an invasion? For sure. Maybe not. It could be a strategy that he's using, Vladimir Putin is using, as a diplomatic edge or a diplomatic tool. It could be. I'm not 100% sure. Now, we want to entertain one conspiracy theory out there that it may be that there could be a backroom deal between, you know, the global powers, that Putin is going to go for Ukraine, and at the West, USA and Israel together will go for Syria and Iran at the same time. Or maybe it's not a deal, or maybe it's just a plan that's going to happen that way. But in any case, I almost guarantee you commodities are going to go through the roof in times of global tensions. That always is the case. It's always been my contention. Problem is, I don't know when this is going to happen. Actually, back in late spring of 2012, you know, it was almost pretty sure, you know, and it depends on who you listen to, but there's actually a lot of push and shove going on. There's actually not a rigid set plan out there like some people think. But Israel almost did attack Iran back at that time. Netanyahu was ready to do it, and if that happened, the price of silver would have went through the roof, along with especially gold and oil first. But silver would follow. Those, you know, the commodities of gold and oil go up a lot in times of global tensions, and if they go up a lot, it may not be that immediately silver goes up, but it will go up. You're not going to see gold and oil go way the hell up and silver stay flat. It will not stay flat for long. It'll start catching up. It'll actually pass the percentage gains that oil and gold would have. That's what will happen. Now, what I think is going to happen, if I surmise this right, Vladimir Putin is, I don't know if he's going to do this right away immediately or what, but I think he is going to go for Ukraine. I think this guy's trying to restore the old Soviet Empire, well, piecemeal, one step at a time. If he does that, I know there's going to be a lot of propaganda out there about the Ukraine being financed by the West. I'm going to tell you right now, Ukrainians are not going to put up with that shit because of a long history of what happened to Ukraine, especially under the times of Stalin, where he starved out and genocided 10 million Ukrainians deliberately back in the 1930s, even though Ukraine was the breadbasket of Europe. They're not gonna freaking let it happen. I mean, even if one area has a lot of Russians in it, it's not 100% Russian. And still, it's the sovereign territory of Ukraine as a whole. So if something happens, it's going to be like either United States or Russia going into Afghanistan. You're invading a country. So I don't know what Putin's doing right now. I think he's like biding his time, but I think it's more than just a diplomatic thing that he's trying to build up there with the forces, because it's not an exercise. So what I'm pointing out here is that you're going to see commodities, oil and gold especially, jump up a lot. And actually, in the interim, what's going on right now, energy prices in Ukraine have skyrocketed right through the roof. And I know people are you get these anti-Western people saying it's the banksters doing it. It's not. It's just due to the political tensions that's going on. Oil and natural gas has skyrocketed right through the roof in Ukraine. And actually, it's probably going to hit here at home at one point in time in the United States. Actually, we're extremely lucky. Our energy prices are extremely low compared to most of the world. Except for like countries like if you live in Saudi Arabia or even Russia. Russia, it's really low there. But most people don't own cars in Russia. That's something else you've got to consider too. But, we'll probably see the same effects here. So what I'm saying is, if you're holding on to silver, you're probably going to need it. It depends on, you shouldn't actually think of it so much as, get rich scheme, because some people are thinking of it as that way. But you might need to exchange that for even greenbacks at one point in time with some people. I mean, it's going to be like that. I mean, not everybody's got loads of silver just to actually survive. And that silver is going to be worth a lot more money in U.S. dollars. It's going to move up if this geopolitical tensions stuff plays out like I think it is. Something else in the economy that's coming up where it looks like Japan is hitting I know they talked about last year, it's a fact that Japan embarked on a super QE that was like beyond belief. It's like stimulus upon stimulus to try to shore up their economy. And actually what they're trying to do is cheapen the yen and boost their exports. Even Jim Rogers was 110% correct when he's saying this is actually a very perilous course for Japan because it's going to lead to disaster eventually. But, where it looks like things are coming up, where it's something else is coming up right now, and they all knew this. The consumption tax in Japan has been raised. They knew it was coming up. I think it's went from 5% to 8% as of April 1st, 2014. And that's going to put a major dampener on the economy, taking a lot out of disposable income and, what the consumers can actually spend in the economy. And it's going to slow things down, even in face of all this stimulus. Now, Japan is the third largest economy in the Western world, right? So, if this tax, they all know this is coming up, but it's almost like, nobody freaking, it's like people ignore things until the actual fact is staring them right in the face, it seems, But if that slows down the economy, which it is, it's going to slow the economy down drastically in Japan because the consumption tax increase is going to take effect April 1st. And what are they going to do? They've already gone overboard with QE. So what's going to happen? They're going to have a slowdown in that economy. And actually, as it affects the whole world because it's all interlinked. And actually, what the bad news is that when economies slow down like this, a lot of times it leads to war, one way or the other. That's pretty much been the age-old principle. Not trying to be doom and gloom here, but that's really what happens, right? If you look at the 30s, there was global depression, which led to World War, right? So maybe that's the same thing that's going on here. It may lead one step at a time to something that's a lot worse than we want to actually have. It might be nice to it might be nice to have a little bit of a currency crisis and make a lot of money on precious metals due to a panic. But I don't want to see a world war. I definitely don't want to see something like that. But the reality is it may be going that way eventually. Not immediately, but it might take a few years. I think what probably will happen is that Vladimir Putin is never going to give up power. He's his election. He's been elected for 6 years. He's going to be up until like 20. I guess his election was in 2012 for 6 years, so it's basically up to 2019, practically. At the end of 2018 or whatever it is. So I don't think he's ever going to give up power. I think he's going to actually. He's kind of a wild card. I'm going to explain this a little bit better because I think a lot of people that are fans of Vladimir Putin don't, because they realize in a way he is against the Western regimes, but he's playing his own game, and the difference is, everybody is all working on the same team for one world government, global domination, all that type of stuff. It's just that different people on the team have different ideas as to who wants to be the number one guy. or how the position of the country should be. There's an intramural contest going on. So, even though Vladimir Putin may be against the Western New World Order, he's not against globalism. He's not at all. It's just a different. He just wants a different. He wants Russia to play the number one role, I guess. That's his whole deal. It's not like he's going to save you from anything. So hopefully I make that clear to people, because there seems to be a lot of diehard fans of this guy, and it's like, he's a strong leader, and these people get behind him because he's a strong leader, and this guy's not going to do you any favors. That's all there is to it. Actually, I'm going to try to put out some more how-to videos and make them a lot more clear, unlike my last video, tying a taut line hitch with an extra loop in it, because I found that to be a very important knot that I always tie for securing loads or tarps or anything like that. And it was a little too shaky of a video. I should get some better, set this camera up better to do this type of stuff. But basically it was a taut line hitch. But a taut line hitch keeps the rope secure, but not 100% perfect. So I always put an extra loop in it. So it's basically a taut line hitch with an extra loop, and it keeps the rope extremely secure. It's a simple knot that's very important. Now I'm going to tell you that I'm going to try to keep doing these type of videos, because I think they're going to be far more important to you than the giddy rumors. I'm going to actually put out something I'm going to actually tell you something right now that's a little bit of a giddy rumor. I'm not going to play separate videos on this. I could make a big freaking deal out of it and get gazillions of hits with the giddy minds out there. But there's a theory that the flight that the Malaysian airliners that disappeared, flight 370, there was a patent holders for a type of microchip, and if they died, that Jacob Rothschild would get the patent. And actually, the theory does not really hold water all the way, although you can make some big deal about it. You might see some crap like that on the internet about the Rothschilds are behind the disappearance of the flight and all this kind of crap. I know there's real suspicion regarding that, and it may even be some kind of deal with a false flag attack. I have no freaking idea. I mean, if a I don't want to say stupid, airliners don't disappear in this type of day and age. The airline, but I'm going to get away from the giddy rumors on that stuff, because I'm not 100% sure what the hell's going on with it. But what I do think is happening, there's either a backroom deal between the world powers that Vladimir Putin goes and attacks Ukraine and gets Ukraine, and the West doesn't interfere, while the West goes for Syria and Iran because they'll be busy, or they're trying to maneuver Vladimir Putin to do this because they know he's not a nice guy. It's kind of easy to maneuver a punk like him to do something like this, because it's he wants to restore the old Soviet Union. And while he's busy doing this, I think the USA and Israel is going to go after Syria and Iran. Now, I got no problem with that, to tell you the truth, because I think Assad's an evil guy, and I think the guys that are in charge of Iran are evil too. I don't have a problem with that. I think people, if you look back in history at every single war, not just in the United States, but by every single country, practically going all the way back in time, there's always been other reasons for the war other than what was stated by the people on the top. It's always been that way. But I do understand, and being a rational person, that Assad is an evil bastard. And I don't really give a shit if he gets knocked out. I mean, I didn't think, with Libya, I didn't really like it when they were knocking him out, Gaddafi, because I think Gaddafi was the least radical of the whole bunch of the freaking countries over there. And I know why they knocked him out, because he was trying to put a gold standard for North Africa, and that was a threat to the petrodollar and all that type of stuff. But in the case of Assad and Ahmadinejad, I mean, I don't really give a shit if those regimes get knocked out. I really don't. I got no problem with that. And I don't really like what's going on with Vladimir Putin, but he's got the Russian people behind him because the Russian television and the media is 100% owned by this guy, and he's got major propaganda going out. In the United States, we got, you might say the major media kind of puts out more for what the administration wants, but we still have a free press, and unfortunately, when we have this free press, it's like we get this alternative media that is, instead of being alternative in a true sense, they're basically Russian media. That's what they are. So I want to actually be a voice of alternative media, not necessarily, I'm definitely not going to jump on the Vladimir Putin Russia Today wagon, and I still don't freaking toe the line with the major media either. I know. But, I still see our system as a better deal. And I just want to leave you with this thought, because with all this silver stuff out there, people talking about silver, doom and gloom, the sky's going to cave in, and all this type of stuff. Now, I don't like the conspiracy theorist out there. I don't like Alex Jones. I don't like David Icke. But I'm going to tell you one thing about David Icke. I don't like his lizard people theory, but there's one thing he talks about is global consciousness. And basically, it's almost like having a positive attitude. And I'm going to tell you, this is actually a scientific fact, and we just want to leave you with this thought, because it's been proven. It's almost like it goes along with religion and everything else. Like, for instance, there's a computer that generates, give you an example, there's a computer that generates random digits. It generates zeros and ones. And you run it over a period of time, and 50% of the numbers are ones and 50% of the numbers are zeros. It always comes out like that. If you interject a human and you say you want the machine, you think you want this machine to actually put out more ones, it'll actually skew it towards more ones. If a person tries to actually will and say, I want this machine to actually skew and put out more zeros, it puts out more zeros. In the absence, and it doesn't go like 75-25 or something like that. It does it a little bit. But it's been statistically proven by scientists that the human consciousness and willpower can actually alter things in a material sense that don't make any sense at all. That is what I'm talking about, having a positive attitude. You're not going to be able to will the machine to go 100% once. Maybe Jesus Christ could, that guy could, but we can't, But actually, as individuals, to say if everybody in the world was concentrating on this machine that was a table of random digits and they wanted it to be one, it may not just be 50.001% or something, it might be 51%, it might go to 52%. But my point is, actually, the collective conscious of humanity can make a better world by having a positive can-do attitude. There is an actual scientific rationale behind that in a materialistic sense. So I want to leave you with that thought, because I don't like this doom and gloom crap too much. It's more lucrative to put doom and gloom videos out there, and I know there's a lot of alternative media people that put doom and gloom, the sky's falling and the Rothschilds are behind. I got one video out there I put out about the Rothschilds, and I wasn't pushing it. It's my #1 video, but it's not me that made it that. It's the people that are gravitating to that type of stuff. It's amazing. It's amazing. But anyway, I think Vladimir Putin is, either it's going to be a backroom deal, or he's going to do this on his own because he's trying to establish the old Soviet Union again, piecemeal. He is going to invade Ukraine. And whether that was something agreed upon behind the powers, or it's something that we're going to use as a opportune time to strike Iran and Syria, I think that is how it's going to play out. But when all this geopolitical tensions happen, and remember the deal about the positive attitude and the numbers, the world's not going to cave in unless you think it's going to cave in. Just saying that the price of gold and oil are going to go up and silver is going to follow. Where I've been getting it, like, I don't know when this exactly is going to happen. It's not something where I'm a doom and gloomer. I think it's a reality. It's just a matter of when. It's just a matter of when. And there's more and more indications pointing to it's going to happen pretty soon. Pretty soon. Okay? So, just want to leave you with that. Hold on to your investment. Silver is a freaking good buy at $20. It really, really is. I'm not kidding you on that. You're not going to go wrong if you're patient.